All right, welcome everyone to our special meeting of council for second and third reading of the tax levy bylaw 2021-6. I will read the resolution to call the meeting to order. Be it resolved that the meeting be called to order and that the agenda for the meeting be adopted as circulated. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Prague, seconded Councillor Bussetti. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Before we begin and discuss, I would just like to make a couple of points for a reminder out of our procedural bylaw, number 2018-24, just in terms of council conduct. For a reminder, every member previous to speaking shall address the chair. We want to make sure that the meeting remains orderly. It's not a discussion or a chat. It's a formal council meeting that we're having this evening. Item 17.4, the discussion is limited to the question and the debate. 17.5, no member of council shall speak to the question or reply longer than 5 minutes without approval from council. And then immediately before putting the question, the chair shall have the privilege to summarize the debate. So I just wanted to remind council, we get off track sometimes, interruptions, we're not staying focused or asking questions through the chair. So I just wanted to bring up our procedural bylaws. I will read the resolution for item 3.1 and then council can have discussion and ask questions. Councillor Link, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mayor Christian. Could you clarify that second point you made? Limited questions. I didn't hear properly.
Sure. As per our procedural bylaw 2018-24, approved by council, we have item 17.5. No member shall speak to the question or in reply for longer than 5 minutes without approval of council.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I will read the resolution for our second reading and we can have discussion on our tax levy bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw 2020-6, being a bylaw of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul to levy taxes for the year 2021, be read a second time. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bussetti, seconded by Councillor Prague, and I will go around the table and see if there's comments for discussion. Councillor Link, any comments, questions for discussion?
Yes. First of all, may I make a comment about the financial plan presentation? That not the budget document, because I do not want to take credit for something I did not do. Mayor, you made the request for the land for green space in the park in Whistler Hollow and the Whistler Hollow green space and trees. I did not. I'm glad you did, but I did not. Now, in regards, Mayor, may I ask the CAO or the financial manager? I have listed net operating surplus, the last line on page 1. I have put a history of documents, and my question about I understand that year-end surpluses result from various grants and cost savings throughout the year, and final documents for 2021 for 2020, sorry, are produced when the audit is completed. Well, I recognize this is not about this 2021 plan, but it relates because it's recorded. The last year actual column is recorded on this budget document. Were the budget documents, the bylaw documents listed for 2013 to 2020 altered following the yearly audits? Were the surplus amounts changed?
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Ms. Shahada?
No, the surplus is listed on the 2013 to 2020 budgets. They're correct. This year is based on a timing issue. So it's just a matter of when we received grant funding. There's a couple journal entries that need to take place in order to complete the 2020 year end.
Okay, that's basically what CAO Olenek told me. That's great. Now, can you confirm for me that federal grants are sent to other municipalities at about the same time? So is that true?
No, this is for a special project. This was the sewer line in this case on Rossmore Addis and that area. The funds, the project was completed. We had to do some reporting to the feds, and then the grant funding is received.
Okay, that is new information to me. I did not know that the holdup was due to the problems with getting information in and out of the sewer line. Okay, and now I understand. Now, I still have concerns, and I'm just going to say this. I understand the concerns will not be shared by everyone. I have concerns about the transparency of not showing the Canada Day Reserve as a controllable purpose that contributes to the mill rate annually. And I'm just going to leave it like that. Now, for capital expenditures, the turnout gear for $21,000 on the capital expenditures, there was no turnout gear on the 2020 budget. I didn't see it as a carryover. And I looked through all the information in the budget binder for the fire department and their 5-year plan. I don't see anything for turnout gear on there. Did I miss getting that page, or is there some kind of explanation for that 21,000?
Councillor Link, the turnout gear was in the operating budget. Council asked us to reduce the operating budget. They felt the increase was too high, so we took it out of the operating budget and put it in the capital budget.
Okay, I don't believe that information was shared previously, was it? Not important anyway. I don't recall hearing that. Thank you. That clears up that question. Now that Sonova mowers, there's a tender out already for 2 front mount rough mowers and 1 pull behind mower. 2 of them, I guess, are for Sonova Center, 1 for Public Works. There's no tender out for that I could see along with this for a tractor. In fact, a tractor was not part of the request. There were 2 requests, either an option 1 for a 7-foot wide front mounted riding mower and or option 2, 11-foot wide pull type finishing mower. Now, Mr. Ferguson said that if we would get the 11-foot pull one, we would need probably a tractor, because that tractor currently operating at Sonova Center has only got a few years of life left in it. It could break down, could result in some very bad delays. I remember that. I made notes on that. So his preference was for option 1, the 7-foot wide front mounted riding mower. I didn't think a decision was made to buy both of them, and certainly not for the tractor for $30,000. So I'm wondering how that tractor for $30,000 got on there, on the capital.
I can answer that, but I'll pass that over to the CAO.
Yeah, that was what Mr. Ferguson brought to the capital budget requests. I distinctly remember Councillor Busetti suggesting that we should the service for grass cutting, etc. Maintenance was very important, and it was him that put forward that we do both, and council agreed to that.
Well, I thought council wasn't to make decisions at educational briefings. I thought that was the purpose of actually this document. And so, okay, that clears that up for me. Thank you. I do not recall that.
Just to clarify, Councillor Link, we don't make any decisions at the meetings. That's for tonight and the decisions that we make on whether we approve the financial or not.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that very, very much.
And I would just like to clarify too that no decisions made till council until a resolution is done. So at the education briefing, we weren't doing any resolutions.
Correct. No, we did no resolutions. And we're not to move towards decisions, I believe, also at educational briefings. At any rate, I want to confirm a conversation that you had with Councillor Kleiber. I didn't follow quite carefully enough. If grant funding is expected on an item to help pay for that item, that grant amount is not included in the amount listed under capital expenditures. Am I correct or no?
Mr. CEO or Ms. Shahada?
Can you repeat that question again, please?
Yes. If grant funding is expected to help pay for an item, that grant amount is not included in the amount listed under capital expenditures.
The grant funding, normally we don't include it. I'm not too sure which project you're referring to.
Not a project. It was a question that Councillor Kleiber asked at the budget meeting, and I didn't quite follow it, so I needed to ask it again. I apologize.
So if there's a project that is requested to be done in the year and we're not guaranteed a grant, but it is going through, we include the full project cost, not the project cost less the grant.
How is my time?
Sorry. I believe you're at 9 minutes.
So, and
Almost 10 minutes.
I had 5?
Yeah.
I apologize. I wasn't timing myself. My other questions had to do with the amount changes in the 5-year plan. Not necessarily that I did not wish to or did not recall some of these plans, but I did not recall some of the reasons for the timing changes, and I did not recall any discussion about amounts changing. For example, 400,000 going up to 480,000. Amount changes. However, it is the 5-year plan. I understand that it can change. So I will leave those questions unasked. Thank you very much. I appreciate being heard.
Thank you, Councillor Link. Councillor Kleiber, any comments, follow-up questions for Ms. Shahada?
Just something you said just now. Could you repeat that? You put the whole in amount when what situation occurs? Like, listen, the question that I had was about the trails, as you recall, right? So the full amount was put in and the grant money was not removed from that amount. So could you explain why?
Ms. Shahada? Mr. CEO?
Yeah, we've applied for grants to cover all the trails. There's a lot of these grants are related to COVID, where they've come up for ways to spend infrastructure dollars. So we've applied for a number of grants. We've only got one back so far, and it's for $75,000. And there's a number outstanding, but with a lot of these grants that are, being created for COVID, they go into a hyperspace and we don't know when they're going to be responded to. So in that program, the accountants put the full amount because they don't know where we're going to be with it. And then we would come back to council before we would continue in saying, these are the grants we received. If there's a shortfall, council would have to, be told about that, and then, what our action plan is.
Councillor Kleiber?
Yeah, so on my document here that I have was a slide given to us by administration. It says trail total estimated cost if no grant approval, estimated cost if grants approved. So according to this document, the estimated cost if no grant approval is $194,000, and we have $390,000 budgeted. So based on what you just said, we would have an additional $75,000 now, which would bring it up to just shy of 275.
Yep.
And so what you're saying is you're still expecting the remainder to come from grants. If it doesn't come from grants, we will not be spending that money. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good, thank you. My other question is to you, Mayor Christian. I just want a clarification on the vote. You posted something on Facebook saying for the first reading of our financial plan, Councillor Prague, Bichetti, and I voted in favor, Councillor Link and Councillor Kleiber opposed. And you're concerned about the budget going through. Now, my understanding is that the budget is a majority vote. So it would be three people would have to vote for it. So I'm just wondering what your concerns are. Are your concerns that Councillor Bichetti and Councillor Prague will not be voting for the budget, or what are the concerns that you have that you've stated?
Well, we never know how members of council are going to vote. That's how the process goes. So our votes, with the exception of sanctions imposed on council members that are in contravention of the Code of Conduct bylaw, all other votes are a majority vote. So every time we come to this table, we don't know how our fellow council members are going to vote on any given issue. When two council members oppose the budget, I have no idea how the second and third reading are going to go. And of course, as a leader on council and a leader in our community, I'm wanting to make sure our staff are paid, that our firefighters are paid, that the things that we discussed in our budget are passed for the sake of our community. I'm very much hoping this budget is passed, but every councillor has to make that decision and vote the way they feel is best. If that vote is not carried and this budget is not passed, it would certainly leave the municipality in an interesting position on how we move forward without a passed budget. I think it's something to be concerned about.
I guess that we would. So I guess the point would be if it didn't pass, we would have to go back to the drawing table and make some adjustments and then pass it again. I would have to say that your comments seem to, I don't know what your intent is with the comments, because the comments seem to, well, they seem to be coercing a vote, and I took exception to it. I'm sure that wasn't your intent. I think maybe your intent was just to let people know that the vote is majority and that we need to get the budget passed. Am I correct in that?
Correct in my intent?
Yeah.
Wanting to make sure, I just explained, of wanting to make sure that the staff here get paid and that we move forward. We've had 20 hours of budget discussions. We haven't had a lot of questions and concerns out of 20 hours of budget discussion. It's surprising to have questions come forward at a first reading and to see all of the comments and agreement in moving forward and making sure staff are paid and capital projects move forward, that council members wouldn't support the budget. We create an inclusive process and everyone is willing to able to vote as they feel necessary. But we create so many opportunities for council members to have all of their questions answered, including mine, in 20 hours of discussion. So if there's, I'm sure the intent of opposing this budget, I honestly can't think of the intention of opposing this budget when there's been 20 hours of discussion and every opportunity to make any changes needed to that budget. And now 2 additional meetings, emails behind the scenes to be asking for clarification. So I guess I would ask you, Councillor Kleiber, what would be the intent of anyone opposing this budget after all of that deliberation and time that we've had to ask questions or make changes?
Like, thank you, Mayor Christian, for that clarification. I think when we go out in the public and we make things public like that, we want to be careful what we say, because then the public calls and says certain things. So just for clarification, I asked numerous questions last budget and I had concerns. And I think that every council member's vote should be respected, whether it's in agreement or not in agreement. And I don't necessarily fault anybody for voting for the budget or not voting for the budget. We all have our opinions and they should be respected. So thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Kleiber. Absolutely, everybody's opinion is respected and valued. And I would also state that, you know, we are making decisions in a transparent and public manner. We ask for recorded votes. Our votes are on the record, and that we will have residents ask us why we vote the way we do. And our votes are recorded for a reason. So we shouldn't feel any concern with residents calling us up and asking us why we have voted in favor of something or why we have been opposed. That's certainly our choice as council members. Councillor Pereg, any comments, questions for Ms. Shahada or our CAO regarding the financial plan?
I just want to thank, I call her by your first name, Crystal, for the job you have done. I know it's very stressful, and I'll begin now. I know we spent 20 hours on educational briefing, listening to all the departments speak, listening to what we want in the budget for our constituents. And I went over that. I'm not a chartered accountant. I went over that manual. You know, some of the things there flies over my head. I have to ask my brother, who's a chartered accountant, what that means. And he was able to explain to me. And he said, Stan, accountants, they put figures and I wouldn't have a clue. And I know the document is quite an elaborate document and I have no clue about it. But I did go over all the budget, everything that was said. I went over the binder, and to my knowledge, everything was well explained. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pereg. Councillor Bersetti, any follow-up questions for our CEO or Ms. Shahada?
No, it's just good that Crystal and Mr. CEO, you've you know, brought it down to what council, you know, we would like. You asked us what we would like to see, and no decisions were made during our educational briefings. But it's in the realm of what we were all just having our discussion about. So I'm good with that, with the many hours of times that we spent on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bersetti. We've had lots of discussion on this budget and further questions and discussion tonight, which is great. I would also like to thank staff. Ms. Shahada is on maternity leave. We've had our acting director, finance director, Carol Rempel, guide council through the process. And 3 times now we've had Ms. Shahada come in on her own time volunteering to help council because she's this invested in this community and this invested in council. So this is her volunteer time instead of spending time with her baby. She is sitting with council and walking us through and answering our questions through this entire budget process. So that's how dedicated our staff is. And I do want to thank you, Ms. Shahada. It's been great having you walk us through that process and be able to answer our questions. We have a mover and a seconder. We've had great discussion. I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Item 3.2, third reading of the tax bylaw. I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-6, being a bylaw of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul, to levy taxes for the year 2021 be read a third and final time, signed, sealed, and therefore passed as a bylaw of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul. Can I have a mover, please?
And
Moved by
recorded
Councillor
vote, please.
Craig, seconded. Councillor Rossetti, request for recorded vote. I think we do on the third reading of the bylaw, but there's a request. And I'll go around the table and see if there are any additional comments for discussion. Councillor Link?
The only thing I would like to say at this point in time is I especially am in favor of several of the capital expenditures, those especially that will provide for some green space and park facilities for communities that do not have. Very much in favor of those. I am bothered, as I've already said, by a couple of items, so I cannot fully support. I apologize, I just cannot fully support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kleiber?
I think there was an echo. I'll just state that I'm in favor of the capital outlay as well, and the different projects that are going on. What I'm struggling with is the tax increase and the operating budget. And I went through those items last time. And I will say that whatever budget meetings that we've had, I've stated up front and right away that I was not in favor of a tax increase. So that's just my perspective. And I don't have any issue with the capital budget. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Prague, any further comments for discussion?
No, I made all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Bassetti?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So to summarize the discussion, just Councillor Link had some concerns about some of the issues, but in favor of the capital items, and Councillor Kleiber not supportive of a tax increase and our operating budget, but supportive of capital items. So I respect the different views on this, absolutely. For myself, I think that this budget has gone very well. I think 1.95 is a reasonable tax increase. I think $35 for residents' taxes to increase, given the mandate that we've been given on the strategic plan, to have more bylaw enforcement, to have parks and green space. Without a majority vote of council, those green space, those capital items aren't possible. So I understand that there might be items, every municipality, every council has issues, and not everything they want or don't want in budgets ends up that way. That's just how it works. But in order to move forward on our budget, we would need a majority vote of council. Having a mover and a seconder and the request for recorded vote on third reading, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. That is it for this evening. Thank you, Ms. Shahada, for coming in to answer questions again tonight on your own time. We very much appreciate that. And I will ask for a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Councillor Kleiber, seconded Councillor Prague. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And I will see you all at our 6 o'clock meeting. Thank you.